The universe is speaking. Are you listening? Tomorrow could be the moment everything shifts. You might not see fireworks or feel a sudden jolt. Instead, the world around you begins to rearrange itself in small, unmistakable ways, like furniture quietly moving while you sleep. There's a tone change in your days, a softer light, a repeated note that keeps returning until you notice it. If you pay attention, these are the must-see signs that the universe is nudging you towards something new. Think for a moment about Venus sliding into Pisces. If those words feel like astrology speak, translate them into sensation. A season when your taste for beauty and ease nudges you away from fight or flight and toward tenderness. That energy tends to magnify small comforts, gentle connections, and the kinds of choices that feel nourishing instead of exhausting. It's not a magic guarantee, it's an invitation. The cosmos is clarifying, pointing your attention. You'll start to see a pattern. I'll walk you through the signs, what they look like, what they might mean for you, and one or two simple things you can do when each sign appears. First, repetition. This is the clearest first sign because it's literal and persistent. A word, a phrase, a number, a song lyric, something shows up again and again in different places, on a receipt, in a text, in a song, in a conversation with a stranger. You might hear the same metaphor in 3 different meetings, or find the same insect or bird crossing your path several days in a row. The universe doesn't shout so much as insist. Repetition tightens the focus. It's like a spotlight sweeping over one area until you stop to look. When you notice repetition, don't rush to grand conclusions. Pause, write it down, ask, what does this motif point toward in my life? Are you being invited to pay attention to a person, a choice, a value, or a memory? A tiny practice. Keep a small notebook or a note in your phone for 3 days and record any repeat images, numbers, or themes. After that, read back and look for a thread. Often, the thread will reveal an area where your attention matters more than it did before. Second, soft upgrades and ease. Before big shifts, life sometimes gets inexplicably kinder in small ways. The line moves faster. The coffee tastes better. Someone gives you the last good seat. You find an easier path home. These micro-upgrades aren't flashy. They're low-key improvements that seem trivial until you realize they're multiplying. When Venus leans toward softer waters, quality and ease are amplified. Think of these moments as pre-expansion alignment, the universe smoothing the doorway so you can walk through more comfortably. If you notice these small comforts stacking up, allow them without guilt. Accept the better seat. Enjoy the smoother day. A little exercise. When you experience a soft upgrade, name it out loud. This is easier. And feel into how your body responds. Let gratitude be a small practice rather than performance. The shift tends to accelerate when you stop resisting the ease. Third, relational recalibration. You may feel a subtle pulling toward calmer, steadier people, and a simultaneous thinning of patience for drama, chaos, or emotional exhaustion. Suddenly, conversations that used to energize you might feel hollow, while another person's quiet presence feels like coming home. This isn't about cutting people off harshly. It's more about your inner compass refining what nourishes you. The universe is speaking through your relationships, steering you toward the ones that will support a new chapter. Ask yourself, who makes you exhale? Who listens without fixing? Make a small inventory. In the past month, who leaves you lighter and who consistently drains your energy? You don't need to act like a judge. Start with boundary experiments. Say, I need a quieter night, or can we pause this conversation? And observe the responses. Often the pattern reveals itself. The people who belong with you in the next season will show up as calm, steady, and unclenched. Fourth, a reduction in competition. You might notice conversations losing their bite, social spaces calming, or your own impulsive need to prove something easing. Where once you felt compelled to defend, now you feel less urgency. This is not complacency. It's the reallocation of energy from survival mode one-upmanship to creative generative attention. When rivalry loosens its grip, more energy becomes available for building rather than for protecting. Try a tiny experiment. Notice an interaction where you used to edge toward argument or comparison and choose not to respond in kind. Instead, offer curiosity. Pay attention to how much lighter your shoulders are afterward. When you choose creation over competition even once, you give the universe a little room to rearrange things without the old friction. Fifth, forcing stops working. This is a big one. Maybe you've been pushing for promotions, relationships, or results with a plan, and it's suddenly not responding. Gates don't open when you bang on them. This can feel frustrating because it looks like failure, but it's often a sign that the current timeline is asking you to shift approaches. The energy that used to push outcomes forward now meets resistance. That resistance is feedback. The next chapter prefers flow over force. This isn't permission to become passive. It's an invitation to test gentleness. Pick one small thing you've been trying to force, a logistics battle, a stubborn project, and try letting it be for a week. Replace a to-do with a curiosity. What happens if I step back and hold it loosely? Track what changes. The universe is asking you to trust timing more than tactics. Pause. Did you just think of someone when I said that? That's the kind of little nudge I mean. If that popped up for you, stick around. If you want more of this kind of guidance, subscribe now and drop a one-line comment telling us which sign already feels familiar. It helps others know they're not alone. A simple human moment. Someone in our community recently shared that they'd seen the same phrase, "come home," in 3 different places over a week, and then realized they'd been putting off tending to a relationship that felt important. They made one small call, and the tone of that relationship softened in a way that surprised them. That's the kind of quiet proof these signs can offer. Not dramatic prophecy, but practical invitation. Sixth, internal anticipation. The backstage feeling. Before the curtain lifts, there's often a quickening that lives behind the scenes. It's not frantic excitement, but a soft pressure, like butterflies who have learned to be patient. Your chest may feel oddly expectant. You notice that days have an undercurrent, like a quiet hum in the walls. This sensation is internal reorganization, your inner world aligning before the outer world can reflect it. You don't need to predict the moment outwardly. Instead, steward the interior. Try a 5-minute check-in twice a day. Breathe slowly, close your eyes, and ask, what's shifting inside me? You're training your attention to notice the backstage changes before they become headlines. That awareness makes the external shift feel less like a surprise and more like a continuation. Seventh, necessary disruption. Sometimes what looks like disruption is actually demolition in service of renovation. A routine that once felt comfortable may start to feel brittle. A job might show its cracks. A friendship could reveal its limits. These breakdowns are not punishment. They're making room. The universe is speaking by loosening what's no longer structurally sound, so new things can settle in. Practice reframing loss as recalibration. When a pattern breaks, instead of assuming catastrophe, ask, what does this opening allow me to build? Make a small, practical step. When a routine falters, try one simple change that honors your newfound preference. Go to bed earlier, switch a morning habit, or spend 15 minutes doing something that replenishes you. These micro-adjustments are the mortar for the next foundation. Eighth, mature perception. Noticing without narrating. As shifts approach, your ability to observe becomes subtler and clearer. You start to distinguish signal from noise, what repeats because the universe is pointing, versus what's just static, an anxious thought or social media echo. Maturity of perception isn't about over-analyzing. It's about learning to see without immediately telling a story about it. Cultivate a noticing practice. When something appears significant, note it and then hold the story lightly. Ask two questions: what am I seeing, and what am I telling myself about this? The first is observation, the second is interpretation. Give the first more weight. Over time, discerning signals becomes second nature. Ninth, emotional tiredness that feels like release. There's a specific exhaustion that's not burnout, but the ungluing of roles you once performed. You may feel weary of pretending, of keeping a story alive that doesn't fit you anymore. This tiredness is a good sign. It means energy is being freed up to move somewhere else. The universe is making space by inviting the old you to step down. When you notice this release tiredness, allow yourself rest that isn't about productivity. Permission looks like doing less, not as a failure, but as a rite of passage. Try a short ritual. Lie down and place one hand on your heart and another on your belly. Breathe in 5 counts, out 7. Imagine the roles you've been carrying gently sliding off. Repeat, I can step down. I can rest. Rest is not avoidance here, it's recalibration. All these signs are threads in the same tapestry. Repetition calls your attention. Soft upgrades welcome ease. Relationships shift towards steadiness. Competition slackens. Forcing loses its efficacy. Anticipation whispers backstage. Old structures fray to make room. Your noticing matures. Your exhaustion becomes release. Read together, they form a clear narrative. The universe is speaking and it's saying, make room, soften, notice. Let me stitch these pieces together with an image. Imagine you're backstage in a small theater. The house lights dim. Stage hands move quietly. Costumes are altered. Nothing dramatic happens to the audience at first. The change is all in the offstage activity. Then, when the curtain rises, the scene is different because careful work was done unseen. That's how this season often works. The universe prefers to reconfigure the backstage before asking you to perform a new part. You don't have to unravel everything at once. Small practices compound. Notice repetition. Accept one soft upgrade. Reconsider one relationship in light of how it makes you feel. Let one competitive edge drop. Test letting one thing go. Sit with the backstage feeling. When disruptions come, ask what space they make. When exhaustion arrives, permit release. Each micro-action is a conversation with the universe. You're saying yes to its nudges. There's also a practical way to sort signal from noise when things feel messy. Use a simple 3-tier check. First, how often is this pattern repeating? If it appears in multiple contexts, it's more likely to be a real signal. Second, how does it land in your body? Signals often carry a consistent bodily tone, a soft tightening, an ease, a flutter. Third, what changes when you act on the cue? Try a small experiment. The universe likes demonstration. Act lightly, observe and adjust. Here's a small guided moment you can do now. Close your eyes if you're somewhere safe. Take 3 slow breaths. Think of one small repetition you've noticed recently. A phrase, a number, or an image. Hold it softly. Ask, without pressure, what might this be leading me toward? Notice the first thing that comes up. It may be a feeling, a person, or a simple urge. Open your eyes. Write that thing down. Treat it like a hypothesis, not a verdict. The practice is what trains you to recognize the universe's voice. I want to return to the heart of the matter. The universe is not commanding you to act in a frantic way. It's clarifying. The voice you're hearing is gentle and kind, often persistent. Each sign is an invitation to cooperate, not a countdown clock. Your job is not to control the outcome, but to stay present enough to receive guidance and to let ease into your decisions. There will be moments of doubt. You may question whether what you're noticing is meaningful or merely coincidence. That skepticism is healthy. Use it as a tool for discernment rather than as a block. Ask pragmatic questions. Does this repeat? Does it free me? Does it align with my values? Does it make room? If the answer trends toward yes, consider acting with curiosity rather than certainty. Now, one last practical thread to weave into your life. Create a small, softening checklist. It doesn't have to be rigid. It's a daily set of tiny commitments that help you align with the cues you're noticing. A sample checklist might include: notice one repetition and write it down. Accept one small kindness or ease. Reach out to someone who leaves you lighter. Let one competitive reflex pass without response. Practice 5 minutes of mindful noticing. Even if you do only 2 items some days, that's enough. The point is steady attunement, not perfection. Before we close, a final invitation. If one of the signs I described landed for you today, would you share which one in the comments? Seeing others' experiences helps the community know they're not alone in noticing. And if this kind of guidance helps you feel less adrift, consider subscribing so you'll get more reminders to listen when the universe speaks. No pressure, just a quiet space to practice together. Remember, change often begins as a whisper. Repetition will call your name. Small comforts will show up like breadcrumbs. People who help you breathe will come near. The urge to prove will soften. Forcing will feel heavy and purposeless. Your chest may hold a backstage quickening. Things that no longer fit will creak and fall away. Your perception will grow quieter and clearer. Your fatigue will have the taste of leaving an old costume behind. If you can, close this moment with one breath, intentionally taken for release. Inhale what you need. Exhale what you don't. Let the intention be simple. I will notice. I will soften. I will make room. The universe is speaking. Listen with curious, gentle ears. You don't have to have all the answers. You only need to be compassionate enough with yourself to notice when the signs begin. If this resonated, tell us which sign you're seeing in the comments and subscribe for more gentle guidance. May you move into your next chapter with curiosity, ease, and a little more breathing room.